Our Leveraging Accessible Technology for Remote Learning Success Track continues with Richard Ferrie, VP of Accessibility, Savvas Learning Company.
Greetings, my name is Rick Ferrie, and I'm excited to be part of this not only as a long-standing advisor to CAST and the AIM Center, but also in my new role as VP of Accessibility for Savvas Learning Company. Now, for those of you that don't know, Savvas Learning Company is the rebranded former Pearson K-12 Learning Group. So we get to carry on a long-established tradition of excellent content while we continue to produce innovative digital products that you can find in more than 10,000 districts around the country. What really sold me, though, on joining Savvas was the empathy they have for learners and educators. The idea of making sure students who have additional needs are successful with our products is paramount to them. And because it's been my life's work for a long time, this is really a dream job for me. So when I took my dream job 2 months ago, I certainly didn't envision the circumstances we find ourselves in now. A lot of us have been managing the hype and some of the unrealistic expectations about technology and digital products would mean education, while still trying to promote and push them to get past barriers that we knew existed. But I think the pandemic and the sudden movement to completely remote and or online learning for all aspects of education has caused a lot of cracks to be exposed that some of us didn't anticipate. The biggest one that I can think of is it isn't enough to say that content is digital or accessible, but what's really important now is not just what the students are learning, but where they're learning it, when they're learning it, and how they can learn it best. So the idea of just being accessible enough, that adaptability, the inclusion, the universal design of it for learning, the context of learning has become really important. And I think for us in the K-12 space, we need to get our heads around not just the idea that content's available and accessible, but it's available and accessible in ways that kids can make meaning out of it and learn from it and use it in whatever environment that they happen to be in. One of the interesting things we're discovering as this immediate push to remote and online learning has happened is that a lot of the products have improved in accessibility over the years in the K-12 space, and folks aren't even aware of the supports that are in there. So you can always go to the provider's websites and find links or contact information to follow up about the accessibility. You could ask if VPATs are available. For those who don't know, VPATs are voluntary product accessibility templates, which can give you information about how products align to the refreshed 508 guidelines. There could be WCAG checklists. There could be a number of different documentation or information about the accessibility of the products that the providers can provide you if you ask, if you're not aware of it. A lot of the products can also be downloaded, or aspects of them or features can be downloaded so that they'll work locally and or offline if that's something you need in a place where bandwidth is challenged. And those products, accessibility of those products should work online if they work, work offline if they do work online. So that's another thing to check into. Interoperability is obviously a huge issue now when everything is remote. So a lot of the K-12 publishers are working with Google, working with Microsoft to make sure our tools and their tools work really easily together in the classroom. Realize, which is a Savvas LMS, has had built-in integration with Google Classroom for some time, and a lot of the publishers have similar features. So that's what you want to check on. Last thing for me is being an optimistic guy. I remain very optimistic about the future. Even though these aren't the circumstances we'd like to learn under, we are learning a lot about truly encompassing educational digital world is going to look like. And I do think it's very likely that we're going to be living in a blended brick and mortar and online environment that can change and mix and match as needed. So we need to get the things we're learning in place sooner rather than later. And the success of that, to me, is going to come down to thinking about universal design, thinking about inclusivity, not just in a product sense or a person sense or a piece of content sense, but in a more comprehensive. We have to include environment in that. We have to include context. And I think, I keep coming back to context. I think context is going to become a key criteria for us going forward. Again, tough times, but everyone at Savvas is very excited to work with all of you to get these new paradigms in place and get a stronger, more effective educational landscape moving again. And again, not just for kids who need additional supports, but for everybody who is a learner and everybody who's involved in learning. Thanks very much, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.